Hello there, and a very warm welcome as always to the France Buying Guide's YouTube presentation. Well, I hear the weather hasn't been exactly great the last few days or so in the UK. It's lovely and sunny here. I think that a lot of people at this time of year are thinking about perhaps going ahead and making a visit to France and trying to find somewhere to buy. So there's a few tips this week on how to go about that and what you have to be aware of. Now, buying property in France should be a joy. It shouldn't be too difficult. You need to give yourself lots of time and several visits ideally to find the right place. But because the sale of the property becomes binding much earlier in the UK, it's, in my view, it's a very good thing. It means that you're pretty safe once you've signed the first contract. You pretty much know that you've got your property, even though you have to wait to sign the final act. Now, it's therefore a much clearer and safer and more straightforward transaction. What you do is when you first go to look for a property, you might be asked by an agent to sign what's called a bon de visite, which is perfectly normal. It just means that should you decide to proceed with buying any property through that agent, that you're bound to buy it through them. It's not a commitment to actual purchase, so don't worry about that. Be guided by your agent, but do remember that it's always worth taking at least 10% off the purchase price, depending of course on how long it's been on the market. You might want to take off even more to start with your offer. You can always up it later on if necessary. The first act, equivalent to our exchange, is called the compromis de vente. And this is, as I say, equivalent to our exchange of contracts in the UK. It's signed by both the buyer and the vendor, and upon signature, the vendor is then bound to go ahead with the sale. So once he signs, he's got to sell it to you. He can't go anywhere else, which is a really good thing. You as the buyer, however, have 7 days what's called cooling off period. During that time, if you change your mind, doesn't matter, you can walk away if you feel it's not the right thing for you. Once the 7 days are up, you have to pay 10% of the agreed purchase price as your deposit. Now, remember that the compromis de vente is much better translated into English usually. You'll be much better off employing the services of a bilingual solicitor to guide you through that. It's not just really to understand what's being said, but also how it's worded, and because in your compromis de vente, it's important to get as many clauses suspensives. These are conditional clauses that you can put in here. For example, if the purchase depends on a mortgage or some sort of loan, if it depends on perhaps planning permission being granted, you can put that in with the agreement of the other side, of course. But if you put those clauses in with the advice of your solicitor, and then something happens that, for example, you don't get the mortgage, then again you're not committed to buy. So it's very important to get this completely correct. Once the compromis de vente is signed, that's when the searches will be carried out, including the land registry rights and ownership boundaries and all that sort of thing. You might want to pay a visit to your local mairie to find out what, if any, recent planning applications exist, or you can ask your agent to do that. As I say, on the signature of the compromis de vente, you pay 10%, and then after that, about 2 or 3 months later, it's not normally less than this, you'll sign the acte de vente, which is equivalent of our final exchange. I can't remember what you call it now in England, actually. Completion, that's right, completion. So this happens about 3 months afterwards, and the notaire's fees, which are set in stone by the way, you can't argue with those, they'll be inclusive in an estimation of the 2 French taxes that you have to pay, which are the taxe d'habitation and the taxe foncière. The notaire will work out what you have to pay, and these will be included in all of the documents. So when you go to sign your acte de vente, it could be, for example, that some of the tax will go. One of the taxes is the yearly tax, and if you buy the property, for example, halfway through the year, it'll be you that only pays half of it. So he'll work that all out for you. You'll go into the office and he'll read all the documents out to you very painstakingly, and then you will have the keys in your hot little hands. Bearing in mind, going back to the little here, when you sign the acte de vente, you'll need to have the funds in place well before, ideally 5 working days before, so the notaire has them properly there in advance of the date that you've been given. So do contact Smart about that. It's really important to get your euros in place well in time. Smart will give you the very best rate of all, you'll get very personal service, and you'll definitely save money. That's a really quick overview, but do write to us if you have any particular queries about buying a house in France. anything else at all to do with that, or need anything about living in France, we're here to help. I hope this has been of some help to you, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Bye bye.